Imagine a Bandicoot that can spin like crazy and goes on great platforming adventures. This describes the titular hero of Crash Bandicoot, an action platformer that is somewhere between 2D and 3D. Crash Bandicoot was released in 1996 for the PlayStation 1, and the game was the first foray into the PlayStation space by developer Naughty Dog, who you might know for developing series like Jak and Daxter, The Last of Us, and Uncharted. Since its release, Crash Bandicoot has spawned direct sequels, as well as spin-offs into the racing and party game genres. To this day, Crash is one of the most recognizable video game characters around. In 2017, this game, along with Crash 2 and 3, were remastered by Vicarious Visions in the Crash Bandicoot Sane Trilogy. This is the version of the game we'll be focusing on today. The game is split into 27 levels and 6 boss battles, which all take place on 3 islands that the player experiences linearly. For each level, there are 2 collectibles to get. The first is a gem, which the player gets by smashing all of the boxes in the level before reaching the end, and the second is a relic that the player gets by completing a time trial. There are 3 tiers of relics: Sapphire, Gold, and Platinum, where Platinum is the best. There are also 6 special gems for certain levels, where not only does the player have to collect all of the boxes in the level, but they must also do so in one go without dying. So here are the rules for my 100% completion of this game. I must complete all of the levels in the game. I must also collect all of the gems in the game, including the 6 special gems. And finally, I must get a platinum relic on all level time trials. With all that said, sit back, relax, and let's do this. The game starts with an introductory cutscene. Dr. Neo Cortex is creating an army to take over the world, and wants Crash to be the general. He has a vortex machine, which I guess transforms regular animals into more intelligent and powerful creatures. When placing Crash into the vortex, it malfunctions, creating our hero Crash Bandicoot. Right after this initial cutscene, the player is dumped into the first level, Insanity Beach. I think this is a good first level. I like the jungle aesthetic a lot, and it really gives the player an opportunity to learn all of the basics. It's like, this is how you jump. This is how you deal with enemies. This is what happens when you get 3 Aku Aku masks and become super invincible Crash Bandicoot. Without too much resistance, we beat the first level. Oh, and there's this really funny thing where after you complete a level, Crash gets just destroyed by all of the boxes you missed. It really gives you an incentive to look around a little bit more, if you want to protect your friend. After this, we get our first look at the level select. You get to run around with Crash from level to level on this jungle island with a large mountain in the middle. Each level follows directly from the previous one. The next few levels all follow in the same jungle aesthetic as level 1. Level 2 is called Jungle Rollers. We also get our first introduction to this little in-level minigame here. So in certain levels, you can collect these portrait pictures of Tawna. That's Crash's girlfriend, who we're trying to rescue in the game. If you collect all 3, you can use a teleporter, which takes you to a 2D minigame for more boxes. These are actually pretty fun. The third level is called The Great Gate, and incorporates a lot more vertical movement in its layout. There's a lot more jumping and a lot less running. The level also has the shield enemy, who isn't really in that many levels, but is just super annoying. You gotta jump on his head so that he moves his shield and you can spin him away. If you mess up your jump though, he just yeets you out of the way. Super annoying enemy in the time trials as well. Level 4 is called Boulders. My guess, and I was not a PlayStation 1 kid, is that this level is the one everyone remembers from the game growing up. You gotta run away from a giant boulder that will squish you if you're too slow. Except you can't really see what's coming up because the camera is facing you as you run away. It's pretty cool actually. Not all that difficult, but I bet this gave kids nightmares at the time. The last level before the first boss is called Upstream. This level looks really nice. Crash has to work his way up a stream to complete the level. I really like how the water looks here. You gotta be quite precise on this one, as the danger of falling in the water and insta-dying is always present. When you jump on the little lily pads, they'll sink after a short time as well. Also, the Bandicoot eating plants are scary, but if you're careful with your timing, you don't have to worry too much. Papu Papu is the first boss fight we encounter. For pretty much my whole life, boss fights have been one of my favorite aspects of games. Papu Papu is like this big fat chieftain. All of the fat protects him from being hit on the sides, so you gotta jump on his head to do damage. He'll swing his scepter around like a crazy man, which you have to avoid. but otherwise he's an easy first boss. 5 hits later and we are finished with the first section of Crash Bandicoot. There aren't any gems or time trial relics for the boss fights, so no worries there. So that's 5 levels completed and 1 boss. When I beat the boulders level, I was actually able to collect all of the boxes in my first completion and get my first clear gem as well. I also decided to go for my first platinum relic. The level is almost like an auto-scroller if you just kind of run the whole time, so I was actually able to scoop up the platinum relic pretty easily. At this point, you can switch out Crash for the character Coco, who, as far as I can tell, plays identically to Crash, but is just a girl. I like this bit of freedom in character selection. For the most part, the next few levels are repeats of the first set we completed. Level 6 is called Rolling Stones and is a harder version of Jungle Rollers. Level 8 is called Native Fortress and is a harder version of The Great Gate. And Level 9 is called Up the Creek and is a tougher version of Upstream. For this game, harder usually means longer levels with tighter jumps and an abundance of opportunities to fall in a hole and insta-die. Level 7 is actually new though and has a fun mechanic. This level has you run on a boar throughout. The boar moves at its own speed, so you can only control the left-right movement as well as jump. It's sort of a fun test of your depth perception, I guess, because to avoid certain enemies, you have to anticipate where they will be when you get to them, not where they are right now. We next fight the second boss in the game, Ripperoo. Ripperoo is like a deranged dog in a straitjacket. He can't be hurt at all by spinning attacks or jumping on his head. To damage him, you have to set off these big TNT boxes and time it up so they explode when Ripperoo is near them. The fight is mechanically much more interesting than Papu Papu, and you gotta keep an eye on Ripperoo's jumping pattern so you can stay safe. I died more on this fight than I thought I would, but after 3 big TNT hits, Ripperoo is defeated. After the second boss, we are at 9 levels completed, 2 bosses defeated. I was also able to get the clear gems from Hog Wild and Up the Creek, leaving us with 3 clear gems collected. At this point, the game really starts to kick the difficulty up. The Lost City is the next level, and boy is this level long. There are new enemies like hordes of bats to dodge, as well as these reptiles who push you away if you approach them from the back. You gotta worry about the wall pushers that can insta-kill you, and there are a ton of climbing sections where it's easy to fall down if you mess up your timing. Level 11 is called Temple Ruins. This level is a nice change up from what we've been doing. We're still kind of in the jungle aesthetic, but now we're underground in a temple. The lighting is dark, with only torches to help you see. Snakes and spiders are the enemies in this level, giving creepy crawly vibes. The jumps are more precise in this level as well. You're jumping from platform to platform over an insta-kill pit a lot, so you have to be careful. The next level, Road to Nowhere, is quite a big spike in difficulty. The level isn't particularly long, but it's just full of insta-kill pits. You basically just walk along a bridge, but a lot of the planks are missing. There are running boars to avoid, as well as turtles that you can flip over and use as bounce pads. There's this somewhat annoying aspect when using the turtles in particular. You want to try and have some momentum when you land on them to make the big long jumps, but sometimes you don't time up your initial jump well enough, and you end up completely missing the turtle and jumping into a pit. The following level, Boulder Dash, is just a harder version of the boulder level from before. This one's a little bit different because you have to make these kind of Hail Mary jumps where you're making a jump but you can't see the platform that you're going to land on. If you sort of erase all your fears and trust that there will be something there for you to land on, then this level's a lot easier. The level after this is called Sunset Vista, and this one is quite similar to the Lost City. This level is long, with many avenues to die and a ton of tight climbing sections where you can lose a lot of progress if you make one mistake. Like the Tawna pictures that unlock a minigame, there are also 3 Cortex pictures in this level to collect. When you get all 3 of them, you unlock a separate 2D side-scrolling minigame, where at the end you get a golden key. The golden key actually unlocks a side path in the level progression. It's like a one-off branch from the main levels that you unlock after getting the key. The third boss is next, and he's called Koala Kong. The jacked koala throws large stones at you while TNT boxes fall from the sky and explode. The idea here is to move out of the way when Koala Kong throws stones at you, and then spin them back at him while he flexes. I think this fight is actually easier than the Ripperoo fight. You have to get the timing right because the minecarts can block the stone as you shoot it back at him, but I didn't feel in very much danger while doing this fight. After Koala Kong, we're at 14 levels completed and 3 boss fights. I also got the clear gem and golden key from Sunset Vista, giving us 4 clear gems and 1 golden key. After the Koala Kong boss fight, we actually get to move to the 3rd island. We did previously switch islands before, but there really wasn't a change in level aesthetic at that time. This time though, an island change signifies a big change in the levels. Moving forward, the jungle-themed levels are sort of gone. Honestly, at this point, I was welcoming some new themes and levels. A lot of the first half of the game is just recycling themes and ideas from previous levels with some added difficulty. That's okay, but I was a bit sick of it at this point. The new island and the upcoming levels change that up. The levels are now a lot more industrial as we get closer to Cortex. The first few levels that follow this change up all take place in a factory owned by a mobster. Heavy machinery, Cortex power, generator room, and toxic waste swap out the trees and wood look and replace them with metal, pipes, conveyor belts, and toxic sludge. Heavy machinery has this fun 2.5D perspective where you progress through a factory with all of the moving parts, hot pipes, and steam vents. Cortex power changes the perspective up again, moving the camera a little bit above Crash, as opposed to behind him, like in most of the other levels of this style. This level also has these pistol enemies who shoot at you. You have to wait for them to reload their guns before attacking them. Generator room is kind of a palette swap from the Temple Ruins level from before. This means every jump and movement you have to be careful with, because at any time you could fall into a hole and die. I think with these types of levels, just being very careful goes a long way. Level 18 is Toxic Waste, and is sort of a gimmick level. Each part of the level is the same idea. There's a big mobster who throws barrels that roll or bounce at you. You have to avoid them as you make your way towards him. I feel like this level was supposed to be difficult, but wasn't really at all, actually. After this level, we face the mob boss himself, Pinstripe Potteru. You fight him in his office. The idea is to hide behind the furniture while he shoots until his gun jams or he reloads. When his gun is jammed or he's reloading, you get an opportunity to hit him with a spin attack. I'm not really convinced I did this fight correctly. The hitboxes from the gun bullets are a bit weird, and there were times where I thought I was hidden, only to die. I figured it out eventually though, and after 6 hits, we move on. After that boss, that makes 18 levels completed with 4 bosses defeated. I was actually able to get all of the boxes in Toxic Waste without dying as well, which gave us our first special gem, the blue gem, and 5 gems in total. The next level is called the High Road. I think this is easily one of the hardest levels in the game, especially the time trial. This is a redo of the bridge level from before called Road to Nowhere, except everything is much more difficult. The jumps are harder, the level is longer, and it's just a hard platforming level. A lot of times you're making long and precise jumps onto a single plank of wood, just wide enough for Crash to land on. There's this really annoying part at the beginning of the level where you have to backtrack a bit and jump on invisible planks to collect a few boxes. Throw in the running boars and the turtle jumps again, and you have yourself what I think is the second hardest level in the game. Slippery Climb comes next and has a very unique look. It's like you're climbing a tower. There's this nice rain and lightning thunder effect. The platforming on this level is quite hard. Most jumps are accompanied by an insta-kill pit below you, and the timing on jumps and movement is a bit tricky. Sometimes the moving platforms aren't lined up in a very intuitive way either. There are these birds you have to jump on to bridge longer gaps, and they move up and down or left and right. After Slippery Climb is Lights Out, this level has a really fun mechanic. The entire level is pitch black. However, when you pick up an Aku Aku mask, he acts as a light source to see in your immediate vicinity. Don't get hit though, because if you lose him, it's just like the level says, lights out. And you're gonna have a hard time moving around in that. I really do wish there were more of these types of fun mechanics throughout the game, because this is one of my favorite levels. Level 22 is Jaws of Darkness. I don't really have much to say on this one. This is another case of the developers turning a level from earlier in the game into a new level with the same mechanics, but just harder. So the platforms above the insta-kill pits are moving, and the level is longer, and there are more things to kill you. This level has a golden key as well. I missed a ton of boxes on my first playthrough of this level, and Crash really got beat up by the missed boxes at the end. The next level is Castle Machinery, which is a harder version of Heavy Machinery. There's this cool part of the level though, where right at the beginning you fall a long way. The idea then is to climb yourself back up to the top to get to the end. The penultimate boss is none other than Dr. Cortex's right-hand man, Dr. Nitrous Brio. He mixes these potions together and throws them at you. The purple ones explode while the green ones turn into these slimes. When you jump on the slimes, they squirt juice at Dr. Nitrous, hurting him. After 7 hits, Dr. Nitrous drinks the potions and becomes a giant monster. I wasn't really sure what to do here, it's not super clear, but I eventually found out you have to use these stones that fall to jump on his head. He is completely unfazed by spin attacks in this form. This was definitely the toughest of the bosses so far, if even just because I couldn't figure out what to do with his monster phase at first. After this boss, we have 23 levels completed and 5 bosses defeated. I also got the clear gem on the High Road, giving us 6 total gems. The lab is the next level and also has a fun mechanic to play with. You have to hit these metallic exclamation point boxes to activate different things in the level, like opening doors or extending bridges. There are also different things that can hurt you, like electricity or mad scientists. So there's this fun aspect of trying to time everything up well in this level that you get to experience. Sometimes when you open a door or extend a bridge, the timing is bad because electricity's in your way. So you have to think carefully about each movement you make. I like this level a lot. After the lab, we finally reached the last boss in the game, Dr. Neo Cortex. For being a final boss in what I think is a really hard game, he isn't too bad. He flies around on a scooter or something while shooting electrical blasts at you. Purple and blue blasts are dangerous, while green shots can be deflected back at him. The fight is more a test of how much you can handle dodging on the screen at once. Luckily for me, I'm pretty good at this, and so I was able to complete this fight on my first try. So Dr. Cortex is defeated, and Crash and Tawna reunite. With that done, we've completed the main story of Crash Bandicoot. However, we still have a lot to do to get 100% completion. As of beating the final boss, we've completed 24 out of 27 levels, 6 out of 6 bosses, 1 out of 27 platinum relics, and 6 out of 27 gems. Of the 3 remaining levels, 2 of them are hidden behind golden keys, and 1 of them is a super difficult DLC level. Generally speaking, when I do 100% runs, I try to do the hardest stuff first. The reason for this is so I don't waste my time doing all the easy challenges only to encounter a challenge that I was not ready for. With this in mind, the next goal is to complete the DLC level, get its clear gem, and get the platinum relic in the time trial. The level is called Stormy Ascent, and from what I've read, was originally supposed to be in the 1996 Crash Bandicoot. However, the developers decided the level was too hard and removed it. When Vicarious Visions remade the game, they included Stormy Ascent as DLC. This level is harder and much longer version of Slippery Climb. The platforming is tight and the jumps are hard, and it really is a tough test of your platforming skills. I died a ton when doing my first completion of this level, and almost ran out of all the extra lives I accrued while playing the rest of the game. Luckily though, I was able to get through it. Another good thing is all of the boxes in the level are sort of just out in the open, so I was able to get the clear gem on my first completion, making 25 levels completed and 7 clear gems attained. Next up though was getting the platinum time trial relic. I think this is a good point to talk about the time trials in this game. The platinum relic cutoffs are really tight. In the time trials, some of the boxes are replaced with yellow boxes that have numbers on them. If Crash hits the boxes, then the time trial timer stops for a certain amount of seconds. I found that for most time trials, you pretty much had to play the level near perfect to get the platinum relic. This meant using tactics like damage boosting with the Aku Aku masks, and hitting all of the time trial boxes efficiently. It's fine to have tough challenges in games, but I think these platinum time cutoffs are a bit too extreme. I played Stormy Ascent for literal hours going for this platinum relic. After putting together a run that I thought was pretty quick, at 4 minutes and 11 seconds, I only got the gold relic, and was a full minute off of the platinum. Clearly, my idea of fast was not right, so I changed my game plan. On every attempt, I would simply attempt to move as fast as I possibly could through the level. If that meant eating death after death after death, then that was fine. Eventually, I'd put together a run that was very fast and without a death. After more hours, that run did come together, and I was able to get the platinum relic on Stormy Ascent with a time of 3 minutes and 3 seconds, putting my platinum relics at 2 out of 27. To be honest, I'm glad I did this challenge first. After completing it, I felt like a master of the game and its mechanics, and was ready to complete everything else it had to offer. From here, I would first get all of the missing special gems. The reason for this was because the special gems can be used to unlock shortcuts in specific levels. I figured these shortcuts might be useful for some of the time trials I had to do later. I got the orange gem from Generator Room, the red gem from Slippery Climb, the yellow gem from the lab, the purple gem from Lights Out, and the green gem from the Lost City. I wouldn't say any of these challenges were particularly hard. It was more about just being careful not to die and looking everywhere I could for all of the boxes. This put me at 12 out of 27 gems. Now all that was left were the clear gems and the platinum relics from the remaining levels. The gems were straightforward for the most part, and the relics took some time, but with all of the skills I gained doing the platinum relic on Stormy Ascent, the levels fell without too much problem, except for a few here and there. The first level that really gave me issues was Native Fortress, the platinum time trial in particular. Something about this challenge was hard. There were a lot of jumps to make and different obstacles that would literally just stop you in your tracks as you waited for them. The platinum time cutoff was a little over 2 minutes as well. When the time trials are so tight, the longer ones were more difficult generally speaking. The reason is simple. A longer time trial means you have to do more things perfectly in your run all at once. After completing the Native Fortress Platinum Relic and Clear Gem, I was at 25 out of 27 levels completed, 17 out of 27 gems, and 10 out of 27 Platinum Relics. At this point it became clear that what was really going to hold me back from completing this game was the Platinum Relics. So I changed course and decided to do all of the hard Platinum Relics first, and worry about the gems after. Sunset Vista was the next level to give me issues on the Platinum Relic. With a platinum cutoff over 3.5 minutes, this level has a lot going on. Between enemies that you have to wait for, wall pushers that insta-kill you when you're trying to go fast, to tight jumping sections that can cost you so much time if you mess up, there is just a lot going on. You have to move so quickly through all of these obstacles without messing up for over 3 minutes, and it was hard. I did eventually get the platinum on this level though, putting my count at 13. Castle Machinery was the next level that the platinum was hard to get on. This level has a lot of different parts where the player might think they should wait for the danger to go away before moving. However, if the player is playing well, they can actually get past a lot of these sections much quicker by forcing the issue and making really tight jumps. Of course, this means dying a lot and having to reset the time trial run. After completing this level's platinum, I was at 15. The lab was also very difficult to get platinum on. I was a bit surprised here because the platinum cutoff time is right around 45 seconds, meaning the level isn't too long. However, this level has a lot of aspects that are timing dependent. This made it hard to move through quickly without dying over and over and over, which I did. I was eventually able to get the platinum though, putting my platinum count at 19 out of 27. The final difficult platinum relic I had to get was on the High Road. This was another surprising case of a level having a fairly low time requirement for the platinum, at right around 1 minute, but being obscenely difficult to move through quickly. This level is the second of the bridge levels where the jumps are quite difficult on their own. A lot of times you're jumping onto a tiny plank to continue. The precision required just made it immensely more difficult when you throw in trying to move quickly enough to get the platinum relic. I can't count the number of times I died on this level going for this relic. It was just really, really hard. Eventually though, I put together a good enough run to get the platinum relic. After this, I got a few more platinum relics and decided to switch things up. I was a bit burnt out on all of the time trials I was doing and how long they were taking, so I decided to go complete the 2 levels I had remaining. I went back and got the gem and golden key on Jaws of Darkness, putting my total gem count at 18 out of 27, and unlocking the last of the 2 golden key levels. I then played one of the golden key levels called Fumbling in the Dark, which was like a tougher version of Lights Out. I completed the level, got the clear gem, and then completed the platinum time trial. I then went and finished the final remaining level called Whole Hog. This level was basically a more difficult version of the boar level at the beginning of the game. After everything I had played through, this level was super easy. I completed it, got the clear gem, and the platinum relic, leaving my totals at 27 out of 27 levels completed, 20 out of 27 gems, and 26 out of 27 platinum relics. At this stage, I was well past the highest difficulty this game had to offer. I knocked out the final platinum relic and all but one of the remaining gems. The final collectible I needed was a gem on the level called the Great Gate. I kept missing one singular box on every single playthrough, and I could not figure out where it was. Eventually, and I typically don't do this unless I feel I've exhausted my own capabilities, I looked up where it was. I really do feel that missing this box was the game's fault more than my own. This level operated on this sort of 2.5D plane, more so than 3D, with the plane moving left and right for the most part. However, at one particular point, the player can actually move into the stage in the 3D space. This doesn't really happen anywhere else in the game, and I felt it was a bit weird for the developers to hide one single box behind this kind of mechanic. With the final gem out of the way, I 100% completed Crash Bandicoot. For our completion, we are rewarded with epilogues for the bosses showing what happened to them after the events of the game. My thoughts overall were that this game was fun and the remake was well done. There are definitely some sour points though when it comes to 100% completion. In particular, the platinum time trial cutoffs are way too strict. I know that players don't have to go for them, but for those that do, you'll end up putting far more time into this game than you're probably happy with. I did like collecting all of the boxes and levels though to get the gems, so that was nice and scratched a collecting itch. That marks the end of this story. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and that you have a wonderful and blessed day until next time.